3, 2, 1. Till I collapse. That's the.
That was pretty good.
That's the Jazzercise remix of the remix album that Eminem made. This is Good Boys Gone Bland.
Let's just
and
start there.
This is a bonus
Let's just start
episode.
there. You don't have to come in with that high energy. Hey, everybody.
Okay.
This is a bonus episode that me, Ryan, and who you just heard, Denali, are doing on
What's
and
up,
off
guys?
week.
Our ties are loose. We're not doing our regular Good Boys Gone Bland show because
Jace has been canceled.
Jace he's unfortunately made some statements, and we had to fire him from the show. But he's out of town, trying to.
Yeah, that's not true. He's out of town.
That's not true. Yeah, he can sue us for libel. Ryan's a lawyer, but
What?
Jace is out of town. I think he's playing Frisbee. Jace is so good at Frisbee. He's on like a team, and I think he wins tournaments. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't have to be as good as Jace is just to be on a team.
Yeah.
But Jace is on a good team for good people.
He's good at Frisbee.
He's on a good team for people who are good at Frisbee. I don't
They're
know
incredible.
if they check your virtue.
Well, I think Frisbee, right? Like, I don't think.
It's kind of alpha bro-y.
Oh, okay. But when he comes back, we'll resume our car season. By God, we will finish that season. It's been a long time, but in the meantime, me and Ryan decided to fuck off in the corner over here again and watch another random movie. I texted him a list of movies. We kind of decided on a classic from 1997, Batman and Robin. And Ryan, I had this VHS growing up. My parents bought it as soon as it came out on video. Have you seen this before? Do you have any history with
Only
this
when
movie?
I was like 4 or 5.
Okay.
So I had memories that were of this movie, but I don't remember anything about the plot.
I'm in a similar situation. Like, I think last time I saw this movie was like 25 years ago. But I did watch this every single day. You know, that period of your life where you have the VHSs you watch every day as like a 3-year-old and you just keep rewinding and you're like, I'm going to watch it again after it ends. That was this movie for me. So even though I couldn't tell you anything about it before watching it, when I was watching, I knew every single beat, every line.
Exactly.
I was like, I know this whole movie, which is why I was so excited to revisit it. This movie sits at an interesting place in the whole Batman saga.
Not only in Batman,
Right.
but this is an important movie for film and pop culture.
It was like the inflection point, I think, for all of film history.
Right, because, spoilers, this movie killed any momentum for superhero movies or anything because it was so terrible. So we don't even have to say, we don't have to sugarcoat it, right?
It was reviled, yeah.
People lost their careers, essentially, because of this movie. But it was huge from a budget and like important standpoint. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger had he broke the record for the highest salary in this movie.
Yeah, $20 million, I think, wasn't it, for just this movie? Insane. And before we get further to, I mean, this is a bonus episode. We got our fucking ties off, but at least I want to say we're a podcast. We marathon and review 10 movies of a similar actor and subject. We're trying to get better at saying that every episode. But this episode, it's nothing. Throw it away, all right? This has nothing to do with our canon. Watch a different episode if you got a problem with it. You want continuity? Well, this isn't your episode.
For you.
We're not. It ends here, just like Batman and Robin. At least with Batman and Robin movie. Maybe we'll do a Batman season. At one point early on in the podcast, I will admit, one of my early notes, and I don't think I'll ever want to pitch it, but is Batman season ? Because HBO
I thought
has
about it while watching this movie.
Right. I would be up for it, but it's part of me is kind of like, is that too obvious for 3 straight bros
To watch a
reviewing
bunch of Batman movies.
Yeah, exactly. It could be fun, but yeah, I'm not sure if I want to touch it. We were talking about where this sits in the pantheon, right? This movie kind of killed the Nick Cage Superman movie. There was going to be that whole campy franchise that came out. It was like what, movie number 4 or 5 from the 90s Batmans, and this is what led to the Chris Nolan Batman verse, right?
Which led to
the gritty,
the gritty reboot of Iron Man,
right? And the realistic, grounded we're going to take superheroes seriously.
Right.
The villains are going to be super grounded. They're not going to be like cartoons. And all of the cringy Joker memes that we live in a society, all of the weird incel stuff, the Joker movie, all of this stems as a reaction from this.
Right.
This thing's like the H-bomb.
Yeah,
or the atom bomb. Yeah.
I think also Sam Raimi doing the Spider-Man movies and the way he did them, like they're serious movies. from a director who is not very serious most of the time, was also a reaction to this and saying, like, if you have your villain making jokes every single line, nobody's gonna care about them, and so the movie's not gonna land. So maybe we need to make this a serious movie.
I mean, watching this movie after, we're like 20 years removed from watching like superhero movies like this. Back when superheroes were campy garbage, I'm watching tons of like really, really serious superhero content. I'm supposed to be inspired. I'm supposed to connect on a really real level of every single superhero movie. I'm feeling the fatigue. Going back, watching this movie from the opening scene, I was kind of like, I don't know. This is kind of a delight for me to watch.
It came full circle, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I want to get that out there.
Yeah.
That I think if it hadn't been so poorly done in a lot of other aspects, the tone of this movie could have been salvaged.
I think so. And there are moments in this movie where it's kind of a vibe. I'm kind of eating up the campiness in this movie. And this is, we kind of talked about, like, in previous episodes, we were defending Nickelback and Creed. So we were talking like, were we too hard on them?
Right.
And I think this is another one of those moments where you get oversaturated with something, you move away from it, and then that gets oversaturated. You come back and you're like, oh no, wait, this was a moment in time that was actually kind of awesome.
I think part of the issue is that, like, they were a bit ahead of their time and they needed to commit, like, fully, right? There's some weird kind of quasi spoof movie jokes in here, like with the Batman credit card.
Yeah.
That
actually never leave the cave without it.
Actually are, like, so close. They're so close to landing.
Right.
And I think we should just get into the movie because it's hard to it's hard to come up with a explanation for why this movie did or didn't work without going beat by beat and having the audience have a little bit of context. Because they probably haven't seen it in 25 years either. Because please do not rewatch this movie.
It's on Max. You can see it if you want. You know what? I recommend you watch it. Then come back. Just as long as you stream us. This movie. Do you want me to do you want to do the synopsis, Ryan? You never do the synopsis.
I never do the synopsis.
Not in our bonuses. I'm always doing this. I can do the synopsis again. I think I'm so good at it. But like,
you're gonna do
practice.
You're gonna do it. Okay. But I want to say that, like, I was excited to pick this movie because you texted me a list and I was like, oh, this could be fun, and I was pretty excited, and I was like, yeah, this could be one I could totally on board with. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Started watching it, and my motivation to record this episode went down, down, down. So if it was a different movie and I had a different experience, I would jump on the opportunity to do the synopsis.
Okay. All right. I'll do the work here. I'll spare you the reliving of that experience. And I'll have to say, right, when I hit start, I was like, oh, yes. And I saw the 2 hours and 5 minutes runtime, and I was like, oh, no. This is a sometimes food, and this is not a 2-hour feast that I'm looking forward to. But Batman and Robin came out summer 1997. A lot of hot movies coming out in the late 90s. This is kind of the continuation of, like, the Tim Burton Batman movies. This was the first one without Tim Burton's involvement. This is done by Joel Schumacher, legendary director of kind of campy genre films. And he's coming in doing a hyper-stylized, campy version of Batman and Robin. This is the second movie with Robin in it, with Chris O'Donnell. They brought him back, but record scratch, they switched out Val Kilmer's Batman with George Clooney. Okay? Controversial decision, and George Clooney apologizes constantly for this. But you've got a pretty killer cast here. You've got Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. You've got Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy and Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl. This is 90s finest here, all right? And even later on, it's finest. Incredible cast, and boy, oh boy, the plot goes all over the place. You got most of the plot being dedicated to origin stories for all the villains. There's Bane in this movie, and it's basically about Batman and Robin kind of trying to keep their relationship together in the face of all of these villains taking Gotham City. Robin, he looks like a 30-year-old man, but he acts like a 14-year-old, and he wants to do his own show here. And Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze threatens to drive a wedge between them. Can they save the day before Mr. Freeze freezes the world and makes plants grow everywhere with the help of Poison Ivy, but saves his wife, I guess. Doesn't matter. They're gonna stop him, and that's the movie. Okay, it's a Batman movie, and that's all you need to know.
Yeah. So I want to first jump off and just say,
yeah,
the plot of this movie
Yes.
is whatever is currently happening on screen.
Yes. You live in the moment.
Yeah, because like whatever Freeze is not on screen, they're not like, oh man, Freeze is gonna do this thing. How are we gonna stop him? They're like, let's go see what Freeze is up to.
Everyone in this movie is like a golden retriever, where it's like anything that's right in front of them is their entire universe, and they're like, "Oh fuck, Mr. Freeze! Oh, what are you doing here?"
And there's a couple things I was just during this, and I texted you this. I'm sorry. During the movie, when I was watching the movie, I had this weird thought that maybe you were also watching the movie.
Sure, it's fair.
But I was going through the trivia while watching. I normally don't do that. This was such a shit show that it didn't matter. And a couple of the trivias did not match to what I was watching because they were describing, like, they were explaining the subplots. And I was like, that's not, like, there hasn't been any there's no subplots in this movie. Yeah. Like, one was like, Vivica A. Fox plays this character, misbehaving. Oh. And the subplot with her character is that she's trying to do this thing. And all this, and I was like, what? Like, no, that character was on screen one time. And like the trivia had these like subplots, and I thought I was going insane watching this movie, and like none of that came across. It's just Batman and Robin running around every time the bat signal
was it
goes
the
off.
right was it the right movie you were looking at on the thing? Oh, that's
there's
so
thousands of pieces of trivia.
Okay. I agree. I had a similar reaction to this movie. It's kind of buck wild. But I don't want to ruin our momentum, but I do want to talk about its release with the box office.
Go ahead.
Because this is June 20th, 1997. All right, this is hot summer weekend, okay? This opened number 1. All right, this did big money in the box office, and it took out some other big pictures here. But I wanted to see if you could guess number 2 here. Oh, now, since Jace is in absentia, what we did before is if you get 3 guesses, and then Jace automatically gets it right.
What year?
What is number 2 in the box office, June 20th, 1997. This is a Julia Roberts movie.
I don't know any Julia Roberts movies. Like it's like a Julia Roberts vehicle, or she's in it.
She's in it. She's the star. She's the star of this movie. It's about a wedding. You haven't seen the Pelican Brief? I feel like you'd be a Pelican Brief head.
This is Pelican Brief?
No, it's not. That's a Julia Roberts movie.
I don't watch lawyer movies. Pelican Brief? Fuck that. You know how many briefs I've read and written? I'm not watching a movie about that shit.
Okay.
Pelicans, though.
Can you guess the title of this movie?
Well, that's the whole game. Can you give me a clue besides Julia Roberts?
It has the word friend in it.
My friend the Pelican.
You're close, and there's no pelican. It's a wedding movie with the word friend in it.
My best friend's wedding.
That is correct. You got it.
Yeah, I knew that was a movie. I didn't know Julia Roberts.
You knew that was a movie. I've never heard of this. It grossed $300 million.
What?
I know.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was drinking water. I just choked on it.
It was a real life spit take on my my Discord camera here. Ryan's computer's ruined.
So you're not reading a typo.
It's $299.3 million in the box office.
I thought that was like a unheard of rom-com.
Yeah, there's random box offices we've done in the past where I look at the thing and it's like, oh, this was like a $300 million grossing movie, and the 3 of us haven't heard of it. And we call ourselves a movie podcast. Number 5 on the box office. The reason why I'm skipping to 5 is because this was a hit movie that Batman and Robin knocked out of the box office this weekend. Okay, this is a sequel to a movie we watched on this podcast.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah.
Like, is it as big as the original?
No.
Oh. But we didn't watch this. We watched the original.
We watched the original.
Gremlins 2.
It is not Gremlins 2. 1997.
I don't know when Gremlins 2 was made.
Not that year.
Sequel to one we... What season?
I'm trying to speak so carefully.
Okay. Would season give it away?
It was a season with an actor.
Okay. Bill and Ted?
It is not Bill and Ted.
Oh, that was a good guess.
You have one more guess.
Oh, fuck. Then we get to go to Jace.
Then Jace is gonna guess. Do you want one more hint?
Yeah.
Okay. It is a movie that takes place on a boat.
Serenity 2.
The title, is that your final? Serenity 2? The Serenity 1 came out in like 2008.
What boat movies did we watch?
It's about a boat going really fast, man.
Speed 2.
What's the full title?
Speed to the ocean, baby.
I'm going to give you half a point. It's Speed 2 Cruise Control.
Nice. It's about a boat?
Yeah, they're on a boat. It's about a cruise ship that can't drop below a certain speed, but I think cruise ships go at like 25 knots.
Yeah.
Is
Keanu in it?
No, they recast Keanu but kept Sandra Bullock. It was a huge flop. And then I'm not gonna the rest of the list here is Con Air, Lost World, Jurassic Park, Austin Powers, The Fifth Element, Hercules, Jungle to Jungle, Liar Liar. This is like insane run that we talked about in the late 90s. But to get back into the movie, Ryan, you barely won against Jace. Congratulations.
He was gonna guess the Bionicle movie.
It was, and I would have given him a point for that. This movie, The Startup. Okay, like this is when my core memories are getting triggered watching this, because like you see like the gloves go on, you're like, oh yeah, and then boom, the ass goes on, boom.
My first note was ass shot,
and then boom, cod piece right in your face, right zoomed in right in your face, and you're reeling from that, and it's like boom, bat nipples right in your fucking face, and they're like staring you in the eyes.
And there's two people, so it's like two asses.
Yeah, it's like 1-2 punch of asses. It's like boom, boom. And they are sculpted asses. Like they are like the plate is like it. They look like Greek gods, and I think that was
they didn't need to put the seam.
Yeah,
they didn't need to put the the middle part.
Why was there a butt seam?
That would be uncomfortable to wear. Like guys, this would be so much more comfortable if it went straight across the top of the cheeks.
I need my Batman cheeked up like crazy, dude. That's the only way. And it's like you compare that to like.
Did you notice? Later in the movie, when he's getting dragged by when she's like, my plants have a crush on you or something, and she pulls him by the ankles, his cape is supposed to be tied to his boots, but the strings are too long and his ass shows. And it's the same butt. Like, that's the real costume.
It's like, why was the butt accentuated? And there's like this like cod piece. Like, which for protection. Yeah. All right. For protection. It's prominent.
It goes so prominent that they have to write it into the script.
Yeah.
Because someone makes a joke where they're like, I like my bat suit, or I like my superhero suits anatomically correct.
Good joke. Yeah. I was reading these suits weighed like 50 pounds each, and George Clooney famously said he hated wearing these suits because they were so miserable to be in. And I think these were the suits too. Like every Batman actor has talked about it, like even all the way up to Robert Pattinson. They're like, these suits can take anywhere between 3 to 6 hours to take on and off. So if you have to pee, God forbid, just I don't know. He was just like, don't make sure you don't have to pee. Just dehydrate yourself. So that all these people are miserable in all these scenes.
It doesn't make like that aspect of Hollywood does not make any sense to me.
Yeah.
The practical, impractical suits.
Just take the cod piece off. Like
just make it detachable. I'm not looking at his belt. Sakes.
And listen, as someone who's been in costume in a production, all right, it's been no problem for me to take off a costume. They let me bring that thing into the bathroom, which I'm always really surprised about. But yeah, I mean that was that scene right off the bat, incredible. And then it's building up to this. I think the whole first 5-minute sequence is flawless. I love that whole section.
You're gonna have to tell me what's at the 5-minute mark.
Okay.
Are you including Mr. Freeze's premiere?
Yes, I love Mr. Freeze's premiere. I can understand the reaction to it, all right? You've watched a lot of campy-ass Batman, and you see this, you're like, Jesus Christ, this is too much. But like the opening scene where the big colorful Batmobile comes in with the spinning lights, and then Robin's like, why don't I get a car? And then they make a joke, haha, and they fly off. And then Mr. Freeze, every single line is a Freeze pun.
Yeah. So the problem here's the problem.
Yeah.
With making every single line a Freeze pun. It's not the fact that every single line is a Freeze pun. That's perfectly fine. The problem is that you run out of Freeze puns.
The Ice Age!
And you start making up stuff. Or repeating. Or just saying cold related words.
He was running dry towards the 2-hour mark. Where he's like, let's kick some ice.
Yeah, he's just like, chill.
I was like, okay, come on, man. I'm running out of puns. And that is such a departure from the really, really respected Mr. Freeze performance in the Batman animated series, where, you know, his performance is like Shakespearean. He's like, oh, my love, Nora, I constructed this. It was like a really tragic figure.
He's a genius also.
Yeah, and he has like a really sympathetic, reasonable kind of character. But Mr. Freeze in this movie, he's more cartoonish. He's like, oh, time to freeze, Batman.
When he gets knocked in the liquid and turns into Mr. Freeze.
That was hilarious.
Oh no!
My guardrails!
Oh!
And Mr. Freeze's gigantic nipples as well on his suit.
Well, it makes sense. That one, that's on the suit, baby. That's Mr. That's all natural.
Is my robo nipples? It's the only thing that could house my extremely hard, constant nipple. My neighbors are gonna hear me say this. Between that, also another departure is Bane in this movie, where I think people
which is my favorite villain. My favorite Batman villain.
Right, and you've read Nightfall too. You're kind of an OG Batman.
Kind of a nerd.
Head. Folks at home, don't leak this. But yeah, the Bane in this movie is what I always remembered Bane as. And so, like, watching Bane's performance in The Dark Knight Rises, you know, where he's doing, like, perhaps you're wondering, blah, blah, blah. And he's very charismatic and very, very cool. This one, he's like...
the complete opposite.
He's nonverbal.
At one point, Mr. Freeze gives Bane a little task. He says, Bane, can you please take these bombs, there's ice bombs, they're freeze bombs, go put them around the room, please. Yeah. I'm going to blow this whole place up. I need bombs to do that. Can you do that for me, Bane? And Bane goes, and he takes the bombs, starts walking around the room, and he puts them down, and he goes, bomb. Bomb.
As he's putting each bomb
down. Like, that's the most character you get out of Bane.
Like, the Chris Nolan Bane would have been like, oh, yes, the bombs. That would ignite the fires of the revolution. Great thinking.
my canon is that it's the same character.
It's Bane with a hangover the whole movie.
It's just like, oh, fuck.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Ivy, water. And speaking of Ivy in this movie, I really liked Uma Thurman's performance in this.
Oh my God. That's going to be a debate topic.
I think she was giving complete cartoon character. Like, I think she understood what the
I'm not saying her acting performance was objectively poor for what she was trying to do and was probably told to do.
Yeah,
I'm
you don't
saying
like the choice,
her performance was the worst thing I've ever seen with my eyeballs.
No.
Like, she was by far the most, like, spoof character. But once again, the script itself wasn't, like, it wasn't spoof-y. It was just always kind of not, I don't know. That's why I can't do it. It's like, it was like, what we were looking at was cartoonish.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But all the characters, they were this weird in-between serious and silly. Like it's not a comedy. This is not a comedy movie at all. Mm-hmm. But everything everybody says is like unserious. And
like they needed to be a little more lean harder into something.
Right.
To make it
one
work.
way or the other. And it's not Uma Thurman's fault at all. I just think it was a terrible idea.
I get that. And I think that's a lot of why this movie doesn't work. I think it's trying to ride the line between drama and ridiculousness a little too hard. Poison Ivy's motives in this movie. It's kind of like a caricature of what like a 90s person would think an environmentalist is, where she's just like,
oh, dude, I have that in here.
Like, right?
I have anti-environmentalist propaganda.
Yeah, she comes up to Mr. Wayne and she's like, you guys are polluting the planet, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, like totally reasonable. And he reads this thing and he's like, you're calling for the complete eradication of humans at the expense of plants? Or like, you know, he's like, you want to get rid of heating and millions would die. And she's just like, them's the breaks, baby. Like, she just kind of like,
and he's like,
whatever.
People come first. And then, audience, what's happening here is that Hollywood, once again, is taking on, like, it's personifying and Bruce Wayne, it's personifying like a conservative, like oil executive.
Right.
And saying, like, we're the reasonable ones. We care about people. These environmentalists, the people who believe in climate change and tell you that you should change things about your life, they want to murder you.
Like they're plant worshippers. And like, yeah, there's that whole vibe in there. And Bruce Wayne could have said like a one throwaway line where he's like, oh, well, maybe we could like compromise. Maybe I'll look into some of this shit that you're talking about. He pretty much told her to get fucked, come to my sweet ass party with billionaires. There is a big stunt piece in the beginning of this movie, not to jump back too much, but with Mr. Freeze, where it's kind of established he has a bunch of hockey minions. And
so let's run through the intro.
Yeah,
because this is really going to do a lot to set the whole movie. Because
sure,
the pace of this movie is 2-minute long Batman scene.
Yeah,
Freeze gets up to something, and then Batman shows up. 2-minute long Batman scene, and then it repeats. And so
until credits.
Do you want to give the rendition of like what is Freeze doing?
Okay. Batman rides down the back of a dinosaur like Fred Flintstone. Yes. I just want to say that first.
Okay.
I just want out of the way. It's gone. All right. Great. Mr. Freeze, he wants diamonds to power his freeze suit because for some reason diamonds kind of power his freeze technology. Now, famously in the comics, he's a very sympathetic, tragic figure where he's trying to keep his sick wife alive cryogenically using kind of his freeze technology. That's why he's stealing diamonds and he needs one last big diamond score to make it work. He's grabbing one of his last diamonds at this like museum or something. Batman comes in, and then Mr. Freeze is like, he calls in hundreds of hockey minions, and Batman and Robin click their heels together in an hilarious scene where they pop out bat skates, incredible, and they're doing this big hockey battle in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, because Freeze has turned the entire floor of the museum into ice rink with his freeze gun.
And this is also where it's hilariously established that, like, anyone he freezes, he's like, oh, you have 11 minutes to unfreeze that guy or he's gonna die. And, like, that goes throughout the movie. And I don't know about you, but I'm constantly, like, checking the time for the people who are frozen in the movie. And it's constantly, like, they're thawing them out at, like, 10:59. And they're like, oh, that was close. Oh, thank God. They would have died in 1 second. No damage there, being frozen alive for 10 minutes. But yeah, Mr. Freeze, he brings in a tank, steals the diamond, and shoots off in a space rocket into space to presumably freeze and explode Gotham. Batman and Robin stop it. They use a bat bomb to blow up the rocket and, fly on the debris like surfboards to catch Mr. Freeze as he's gliding towards Gotham City. And they land in a furnace that Mr. Freeze freezes. And Robin gets frozen alive, and Mr. Freeze says that line, "That's what makes you weak, Batman! I'll kill you next time!" And then he leaves when Batman thaws out Robin. Unbelievable sequence of events.
It's something out of like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, it is. It's just one after another weird thing.
The thing I like, my best note about this movie is that Freeze really is 100% in it for the bit.
Yeah, totally.
His name is Freeze. It's spelled Frieze.
That's funny. It's hilarious.
Pretty good. Hey, you know what? That's a hilarious coincidence because I have to be cold all the time. I'm just going to call myself Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, and you know what? Dr. Freeze.
Yeah, okay, whatever. And then I'm going to freeze everything. I'm going to make some cold rays. That'd be freaking hilarious. And then when we get back to my house, I'm going to put on my little slippers. My little winter clothes. I'm going to sit on the ice throne.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make my minions sing Christmas carols against their will.
Mr. Snow Miser.
And it's going to be this whole thing. I've got a snow vault. Yeah. I'm just going to go 100% in. Anybody who wants to sign up, take a number.
It's hilarious because, like, in let's say in like a Christopher Nolan version of Mr. Freeze, right, which I would pay any amount of money to see.
Yes,
he'd probably just have a regular gun where he's just like, okay, I have to keep myself cold.
Yes, I'm going to shoot you in the face if you get near me, Batman.
Right, because I have this other goal. I don't have time to make a bazooka that freezes people for 11 minutes and slowly kills them, and I don't need to do.
Well, and also, Freeze has got this weird morality thing where, like,
right,
he just freezes people that he was trying to kill, and then he gives like there's the 11 minutes.
Yeah.
And you still have a chance to save the person.
Right. It's kind of non-lethal.
Yeah,
because I feel like
how many people does he kill?
I don't think he killed anybody in this movie.
Did he commit a single crime?
Okay. I think attempted counts when he freezes the whole city. But in his defense, I'm going to be his lawyer for a sec. All right. He said his
Objection.
goal was to sustained. He freeze. Is that what I don't know what they say. He plans to freeze the city and then hold it ransom so he can fund his research. Which would they just give him the money and he can just go back to being a university professor? I don't really know what the but he didn't plan to kill everybody. He was just kind of like, I'm gonna freeze it and you guys are gonna transfer. You're gonna Venmo me like whatever amount of money that I want, right?
I have no clue.
It doesn't matter.
I didn't know there was a ransom thing going on.
He says it once, and then it goes out the window.
That's what I mean. Is like this is just a collection of scenes.
Yeah,
It's like a collection of SNL skits. So eventually, the plot revolves around this telescope. It's going to be the world's most advanced telescope, and it's built right in the middle of the world's largest city. Great spot for a telescope, sea level,
super dark,
and it uses a satellite system to look at stars that are on the other side of the globe.
Well, I think they were like looking at the planet though, right? Because they said the mirrors
they said
face
that,
in?
but then they showed looking at the stars. They said planet, but I think they mean looking at the stars from the other side of the planet.
All right. Okay.
Every other telescope on Earth uses a different strategy to do that. They wait 12 hours.
Right.
This telescope is eventually becomes a plot point because that's how Freeze uses he converts it to a freeze ray.
Makes complete sense.
Yes,
a
telescope that is absorbing light.
Yeah,
from
it's
stars.
a 1-to-1 transfer freeze ray.
You hit a couple buttons, freeze ray.
Boom! It's
I
always on the edge.
I actually have a telescope.
Yeah,
I gotta be careful. One time, Julie bumped it when she was moving it. She bumped one of the dials. Freeze ray. Froze her solid.
Happens all the time.
I got there in 10 minutes.
Thank God.
Could you imagine if I was playing
One
Clash
more
of
minute.
Clans for another 45 seconds?
Thank God. And you hit her with a heat ray that instantly.
I had a reverse telescope. I had a microscope that if you bump that one wrong, heat ray. So
right. It's so hot.
Yeah.
That would instantly thaw and without damaging the person. Yeah. The telescope was dumb.
So that's one big plot point. But the other big plot point in my mind, there's like telescope stuff. And then there's Batgirl. Batgirl's kind of hanging around.
Yeah, Alicia Silverstone in this movie, coming right off of Clueless, I think, right? Was
Right.
Clueless, kind of early 90s. She shows up, and she's like, Uncle Alfred! And they're like, Uncle Alfred? And, like, you had a secret niece? And, I think she's kind of, like, trying to do, like, the 90s, like, edgy teen, where she's, like, into secret motorcycle racing and sort of into like, Aikido and stuff. And then, I think it's really funny where she finds the Batcave and gets the Batman outfit, the Batgirl outfit. And then eventually she kind of shows up and then just starts whooping ass and everything.
And Batman's like, who the fuck is this lady?
Yeah, she's like, what the fuck? And then she's like, it's me. It's Barbara. And she's like, I found the Batcave. I know you guys are Batman. And he's like, oh, sick. Okay, cool. Let's get going. And like that was it. That was the transition. It wasn't like, holy fuck.
Someone
you just
found
called me Bruce. Yeah.
Someone found our cave. Like our cover's blown.
Yeah. And like their reactions was, Lamau, guess we're gonna have to kill you, LOL. Just kidding. Let's get going and kick some ass. And I just like that tone, I think, was kind of indicative of the whole movie, where it's just like nothing really matters. We're just watching this. So
I think that's part of it too. Is like I don't know if I've seen any of the other Batman movies. I've seen parts of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like the original Batmans.
That's surprising, dog.
Yeah. Probably because when I was a kid, I realized this one was utter shit, and I wasn't thinking that the ones that are older than this would be any better. Kind of
they're regarded better.
They are. That was the conversation me and Julie had. Is they're probably better because everybody has a better opinion of Michael Keaton.
Right.
But there's just little things about this movie. We don't have to go through the whole thing because obviously Batman wins. But like,
spoilers. Batman's frozen to death, and he fucking falls. He shatters into a million pieces.
Ripperoni, Bruceroni. We have. I want to talk about let's point by point and more like my problems with why I was not having a good time and things I learned in the trivia also. But this movie just is so overproduced. Like it's amazing what the sets, like the people who built the sets, like what they did,
outrageous,
and how and like all these technical accomplishments they did. I don't know how they made so many icicles. It was foam. But like everything was practical. There's only a few explosions of like the telescope at the end that are not practical.
It looks incredible.
Batman's there fighting hockey dudes, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not CGI like critters like and stuff.
Right.
And that was really great. The problem is that no two characters like ever share a scene, really. Like they're never like, at least not in costume or like in the big set pieces. It's so, you're so aware you're watching a movie. There's no attempt to give any sort of immersion or like realism or like emotional connection to each individual scene. Like the scenes themselves don't have arcs to them. They don't make you see the character like in a different way. It's just Freeze is here, he's stealing shit, and Batman's gonna show up and punch him and try and get the diamonds back.
Yeah.
And it's, while I think the script attempted to have some sort of like, oh, in this scene, you know, Poison Ivy is taking advantage of Mr. Freeze and stuff. They say that while surrounded by like $50 million of props and stuff.
Yeah.
And then when there's nowhere else for the actors to stand, they can only stand in like this one little spot on the stage. And also in the new Batman movies, like Gotham felt like a real place because it was filmed in a real city. Mm-hmm. There was not one real thing in here. Everything was on a soundstage.
The whole city is completely built from scratch, based like all the models and everything. Like there's nothing recognizable in there.
And it's such a stark contrast between the scenes at Wayne Manor and those scenes, because the Wayne Manor scenes are boring. They're so boring. And I get that they were trying to have this ebb and flow to it, like the action scenes are supposed to be flow, and then when they're at Bruce Manor, that's their refuge, that's their cave.
Take a breath.
Yeah. But Jesus Christ, like
it crawled. Yeah.
You need to have some character beats like going on in the scenes at the Wayne Manor. I'm at like in Batman Begins, they're like setting up the lab and Bruce is doing push-ups and all this stuff, and he's like, what will it cost to get that installed and all this kind of stuff. In this movie, they're like, I am Bruce. Alfred, you work for me. You have worked for me for 30 years. You seem kind of tired today.
Yeah.
And like wasn't helped by the fact that George Clooney didn't do a voice.
Right. He's doing George Clooney's voice, which is a good voice.
Yeah.
I like his voice.
But also, like, in the rest of the movie, when he's fighting Mr. Freeze or whatever, he's just like, he's also just George Clooney, and his inflection never changes.
And he's a public figure, dog. Like, let's say, like, you know, God forbid, Elon Musk was a Batman type character.
Oh, fuck, dude, don't give me.
And you heard his voice, because Batman's speaking in public a lot. You're like, isn't that fucking guy we hear like on podcasts all the time? That fucking clown? Like, they're going to recognize George Clooney's voice, for God's sake.
And just something that, like, the whole point of the Caped Crusader idea is that, like, you don't know his identity. But it actually, he's not just a normal dude. He's, like, a super powerful dude. And that's kind of that's the idea, right? Like, he has to be super protective of his identity because he's not just a normal dude. This movie does not understand that at all.
He doesn't give a fuck,
And it doesn't give any stakes to when he's Batman, because there's a plot point in The Dark Knight about Batman getting exposed. That's like a huge thing. That's what half the movie revolves around.
The man has a fucking bank account in Batman's name. This dude has a bat car.
And Batman rolls up like, I'm gonna bid $7 million on this. Like, there's only 3 people in the city that have $7 million. The rich billionaires in the room were only bidding 30 grand.
Yeah, I wrote that down as a note with the Poison Ivy scene because that scene's hilarious. First, start opening with the purple gorilla costume sexily dancing for like a really long time. And then Poison Ivy auctioning herself. She's like seducing everybody. Rich people are bidding like $50,000, $100,000. And Batman's like, $1 million, $2 million. Like he's like losing his mind in front of these people. And then Robin's like, $3 million of Batman's money, please. Like it was an absurd scene. And it begs the question, like, what the fuck is Batman buying in character? Is that so he can like go to like a hot dog cart mid thing and it's really quick so he doesn't have to change out or something?
Yeah,
so he can build
saying,
things.
what's the lore behind the card?
What's the lore? Is the mouthpiece so he can eat hot dogs like while without having to take it off? Because there's no reason for any of this.
There's no reason for this movie to exist.
Well, there is a reason, and that reason is toys. Because when you look at the trivia, that is the main motivator of almost every decision in this movie. Joel Schumacher is constantly, look at all of his interviews, you listen to any of that stuff, he is constantly talking about how producers are like, no, we got to make that a toy, dog. Change the costumes again. It's got to look like that. You guys got to act like this. And there's a lot of stories about him on the megaphone where he's kind of shouting. He's like, remember, guys, this is a cartoon. Act like a cartoon. And that is indicated throughout the entire movie. It's like you're watching a Saturday morning cartoon stretched to 2 hours.
Yes, and not like multiple episodes strung together, like one episode.
It's the same arc. And like, okay, sorry, the billionaire scene, that scene also doesn't make sense because like Bruce knows Mr. Freeze is going to show up, right? And he's like, I'm going to bait these other rich people. And he's like, okay. He's like, he's going to show up. And like, as expected, Mr.
This whole
Freeze
thing
shows
is a
up.
trap.
He opens fire on the crowd. Like, he like
Batman's
freezes
like, oh,
everyone.
fuck, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, but Batman is like, oh shit. Well, I'm not gonna deal with that right now. and like, he had no fucking plan to recover like 300 frozen people in the moment. It was just like a total botch job where he's like, I know this heavily armed man with a tank is gonna just crash through the wall.
Dude, okay, so get this, like, imagine a comedy superhero movie where this is the plot point. Batman's like, Mr. Freeze loves diamonds, man. I'm going to get these diamonds. I'm going to throw a big party for all these billionaires.
Fucking
so he hears about it. So it's put in the news.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Freeze shows up, starts just murking the people in the audience, and Batman's like, oh, fuck.
Oh, shit. There's a lot of people in here. It's packed.
Out. Like, in a comedy movie, that would be one of the funniest scenes ever. And then Batman at home is like, that really got out of hand.
Oh, my God. I really should not have invited so many people.
I can't get unmasked now because they're going to hate me.
I had to retire the Batman costume.
I'm now Frogman. Not related. Wow. It's a different person than the Batman.
I was bit by a radioactive frog. Yes. And I'm from a different city.
My costume looks the same, but it's spray painted green. Coincidence. I didn't know about that other guy. He sounds like a total dick.
What's this? Batman's old credit card? I guess I'll keep using that. What's the point of making a new account?
I bet the pin is.
Like, yeah, I mean, there was no fucking, why invite anyone? He could have just had an empty gala and waited until he showed up and then swooped in. And then Poison Ivy is also there doing bioterrorism to everybody.
Let's keep in mind that Batman Begins did the same scene.
He did. When was it? What was
there was a gala at Bruce Wayne's house.
Right.
And it was this huge character moment.
Because that's when the house burns down, right?
This huge moment where he has to like get everybody out of the house and kind of this, Bruce Wayne's pulling in one direction, but his true life as Batman is pulling him in the other direction. And you almost feel like Bruce Wayne is the mask. He's trying to think, oh no, I'm about to be revealed, but he's in his Bruce Wayne clothes. And it's this like really interesting moral dilemma that he's in. And someone even says the lines like, the apple really has fallen far from the tree when they're leaving and saying like, Bruce, like your father was an honorable man. And even though Bruce is like trying to keep his honor inside and like he has to keep his mouth shut. That's so far over the head of this movie.
Well, in the movie's defense, maybe this is a person who's completely divorced from the Bruce Wayne character. And he's like, all of my friends down there, slaughter them. Yep. I'm here for the fucking villain.
He's like, if I invite all these billionaires to a room, Mr. Freeze might kill them all.
My competition, you say? All of these competing shareholders in one room?
Hey, Denali, we're on the verge of something here.
The last portion, the city is shot with an ice laser. I think this last thing is like quite hilarious because the city, they're like, okay, everyone's frozen. Mr. Freeze is like, 11 minutes again, and like Batman, you see the next time you see them, they've done a full costume change, meaning they went home and changed their entire outfits again and got new like stuff. So they wasted 2 hours and then came back with a whole new wardrobe.
Can't go to two events in the same wardrobe.
It's like, what the fuck? And that was clearly like a toy, because I had those toys. Like I had the silver encrusted whatever toys of those things. But it's just like that totally removes the urgency of the scene. And they're doing this slow alleyway drive with their cool new like motorcycles. And I think about 30 minutes of the movie passes in the span of 10 minutes in movie minutes. Because they're just fucking around with grappling hooks for like so fucking long. They're moving this telescope up and down. They're sliding things. They're shooting the rays. It was exhausting. And I think the pacing of this movie, I think, is the biggest flaw here. You mentioned the Wayne Manor. I think it's also in the action movies. Just things go back and forth so fucking long. By the time we got to the finale, I was exhausted. I was done with it.
It's, in fact, so me and Julie watched this in 3 parts. 1, on the couch. 2, we were like, there's still a half an hour left. We need to go to bed. So we watched it in bed, but we fell asleep. So we had to rewatch what we fell asleep to this morning.
Okay.
At one point, while we were rewatching, Julie said this. She made a very great point, because I think it's a good example of why the script didn't work. There was no A plus B equals C between scenes, if the equal sign is a cut between scenes. Because at one point, Bane is on the top of the police, like Poison Ivy, whatever, gets Commissioner Gordon's keys. Poison Ivy and Bane are on the top of the police station. Okay, right? Yeah. And they want to turn the bat signal on. So what they do is they have to have Bane there, because Bane lifts the light. And he goes, it's this big scene. He's showing how strong he's and he lifts the light so that it's shown up in the sky. Why did he have to do that? Don't they use the bat signal all the fucking time? Like, does Commissioner Gordon have to Hulk the bat signal up?
Well, wasn't it so that they could move it to her new place? Because what they do is they modify it. They take the bat signal, they put it at the Turkish baths where Poison Ivy's hideout is, and then they shine the Robin signal using the modified signal. So I think he was picking it up for transport.
It was on.
I don't know. For the scene, I guess.
Oh,
because they don't call Batman, right? Because she just lifts it up, and then Batman's like, oh, she was there to take the signal. And he was telling that to Robin. He's like, yo, Robin, she fucking took the signal so that she could like call you over there. And Robin's like, you're just fucking jealous, Batman.
Yeah. See, I didn't.
It's a good movie now. It's a good.
I want to say I was sober for this one. I mean,
it's
we
a
had
hard
2
line.
people.
Yeah.
And we were both sober. I don't know, man.
I've probably got hundreds of hours in watching this movie as a child, so maybe that's the through line there.
Maybe.
But I will agree, though, things do not add up easily here, and maybe do not add up at all for a lot of things. Like, it is a sequence of scenes, and like the narrative arc here is just an arrow. It's just a straight, there's no kind of intertwining anything. It's just kind of like, here is the next thing.
For example, the resolution of this film is that they need Alfred. Alfred is sick.
Yeah.
And Alfred is the most important person on the planet. And he has a disease that, for some reason, Dr. Freeze is the only person on the planet who knows how to cure. So Batman pleads with him and says, save my friend. Fuck all those other people who on the planet that must have it. You got to give him to my 97-year-old guy. And
the only cure.
And Freeze is like, you know what? It's the very end of the movie. You've been chasing this for like an hour and a half. I'll give it to you. You make a fair point, and I'm going to end up making some changes in my own life. And he opens up this compartment on his arm and takes out the cure for this disease and hands it to Batman. It's like, you know that thing you were talking about? It's right here.
It's in my wallet.
And Batman's not like, oh, shit, that's actually really convenient. I was expecting to go to like a secondary location.
Those are made of glass, dog. Are you fucking serious?
I've kicked you like 1,000 times. There's like been 6 explosions. We free fell from the sky.
You landed on the ground at like 30 miles an hour.
And you kept. This is the only copy of the cure?
Take 2 and call me in the morning.
Yeah, it's like, I don't have your number.
He's a funny doctor joke. He's a doctor.
Oh.
That's what doctors say in the old days.
That's funny.
You know? This movie's good.
A joke.
I'm saying
that's
it's
a
good
joke.
movie. It's a joke. He's a jokester.
Because
even
there's
when
not a
he's
lot
dying.
of jokes in this movie. There's a lot of like weird lines, but there's not a lot of jokes.
That's a joke.
That's a joke.
Yeah. And it works. He gives him this blue stuff. And I think it would have been
Alfred is back to his, toxic alpha bro self the next day.
I'll be honest. I would have been really sussed out if I was asking like the supervillain who was trying to kill me all day, and he's like, "Oh, I got the cure, yeah, right here."
It's like,
here you go,
there's
buddy.
1,000 to 1 chance that's anything good.
He's like, attached to my suit that's filled with killing devices. Here's the cure.
At the very least, like the best case scenario, that's gonna be like pre-workout, and it's gonna kill Alfred.
It's too much B vitamins and caffeine. We just injected him with like
beet
600
juice?
cups
really,
of coffee. It's glowing blue like Gatorade. Why'd you give it to him in like an IV? It's a fucking drink, man.
Who'd you get this from?
You injected him with 2 5-hour energies?
You're going away from manslaughter. This is insane.
Okay, let's get to the fucking meters. Smashing Pumpkins outro. It was made for this movie. Great song.
What?
And it won a Grammy.
Really?
For this movie, they made it.
Pumpkins?
Yeah, and it was also like the reason why I know this song.
Despite all my rage, I'm still just
a bat in a cage. It's the one that was famously in the 2009 Watchmen trailer that I watched over and over.
Today is a good day.
This day for an atom bomb. Yeah. You probably know the song if you listen to it.
I do.
Though. Yeah.
It's you're the one for me. That's all I really need.
Yeah. Meters. So I guess when I was imagining if we did a Batman season, maybe a bat meter. How Batman was this movie?
Our meter cleverness.
Look. This is on the fly. We didn't have a whole episode to kind of decide what our meters are in Batman. What, like a Bruceometer?
I was saying Bruceometer. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I would say
Bat meter's pretty good.
Bat
meter's just simple.
Because it sounds like a
okay.
gadget
Well, let's be clear. The Batman is not a clever name for a superhero. So let's just fucking go with Bat meter.
Yeah, it was the 20s. They all had lead poisoning. So Bat meter. I guess I'll start us off. How Batman was this movie? Well, folks, congratulations. It's a Batman movie. He's in, I would say, like 75% of this movie. You don't get. I think, okay, this is so fucking stupid, but if I had a Batman meter, I would have one parents getting shot sequence, all right? This did not have it, okay? You had the scene with he's like, oh, Alfred, when he's like a little kid. That doesn't count. They had the gadgets, all right? So that's going to rank highly. This is probably the most gadgets you see in the movie. After you see the codpiece and the butt cheeks go on, it's like they're grabbing 6 different boomerangs for like kind of a long time. So that's going to get it there. Batmobile looked pretty fucking sick, dude. It's got like these like spinning LEDs and shit. It looked like Fast and the Furious. That's going to get a point from me there. I'm going to give it a 7 on the bat meter. I think you could go a lot higher on this thing, okay? You see these movies like Batman Begins. I think that's all about Batman. He's a side character here, but I think it gets there a little bit. Ryan, how Batman was this movie?
4.
A 4.
I'm going with the 4. I just don't think there was enough Batman. And also, like, it wasn't very cool. Like, I didn't want to be Batman in this movie.
No.
Watch Batman Begins, and you're like, fuck, I want to go to that Himalayas.
It's fucking ninja. It's so sick.
I want to go, like, screw it. Screw my job. Screw my student loans. Well, but, like, in general, like, that's not too bad. I'll fall in a frozen lake. Here, you're like, oh, he's cool. He's rich. His old man is dying, kind of thing. That's like the other character point. And he has this really weird way of like insulting people we don't see in the other movies. He's kind of he's not very nice in this movie. Because every time he talks to Robin, he's like, "Hey, Dick." That's not the way we do it around here.
His name's Dick in the movie too, so
he's like, "Look, I know. Look, you don't have a lot of experience, Dick, but the way I do it."
He says his name every time.
Yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't for me. Not a Batman movie for me. I would be the thing that makes me more interested in Batman because of this. I am actually more interested in going back to see the other ones and seeing if they're better than this. Specifically, the one with Jim Carrey. Because I thought in my brain that came after this. So I actually would be interested to go see that one. I don't really care much about Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. I think they take themselves too seriously.
Maybe. I think it's worth a watch. And I mean, after this episode, maybe a Batman season might be fun.
Dude, we've watched Under the Red Hood, dude. Oh.
I will also say the billionaire aspect of Batman, I think you see the worst parts of it here. I think he's totally unlikable as Bruce Wayne. But the Bruce Wayne in the Batman Begins kind of series, it's kind of like he's taking the piss. It's like, I am doing this character, but in here, there's no joke here. He's like, I am actually like this, and I am a fucking asshole.
Yeah, right? When he told off Poison Ivy, that was real Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, it's completely undivorced. He is like a capitalist dickhead.
Our responsibility lies with the shareholders.
The shareholders, you piece of shit. You're fired. You're hired. You're fired. Look at his face. He's
kind of Mr. Krabsy.
Me money. the review for this movie. The movie meter. This one's tough, dude. I'll be honest. This one's tough for me because this triggered a lot of memories. I had a lot of these toys, man. I don't know. Look, this has been tread a billion times. People have had their takes on Batman and Robin. A million podcasts have reviewed this thing. Everyone's reviewed it. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to defend it a little bit, okay? We have been 20 years removed from camp. I think it's about time it comes back just a little bit, just for some things, okay? So when I got to see Batman be a silly little goose, put out some bat skates, put out a bat bomb, and run around like a fucking idiot, I was kind of laughing my ass off, all right? Seeing all the jokes, seeing kind of the rogues gallery give these really wet, non-serious performances. I mean, think about the Riddler that you see in the Batman movie in Robert Pattinson. That is a humorless, fucking terrifying Riddler. But like in here, it's like you're watching a cartoon for 6-year-olds. And I think this movie is made for kids. It's not made for 20-year-old whatever, like adults to watch to kind of critically analyze. I think it's made to sell toys. And I think it works in that regard. I think Joel Schumacher kind of just gave this really colorful, really wild performances. And I think there's some really, really cool, great set pieces here. And I don't know. I like the performances in this movie. I think nothing was acted truly bad. I just think the direction was the flaw here. My biggest criticism is with the pacing. 2 hours is a ridiculous ask for a movie like this. You can't have like a tone like this and sustain it. It needs to be an hour 20 tops for a movie like this. So I think I'm going to give it a 6, okay? Boo. I'm going to give it a 6. I enjoyed this movie. This movie deserved better, and I don't think it deserves the 11% of Rotten Tomatoes, where the fuck it has. 6. This movie's good.
I was doing a bit where like I would act more disinterested the more praise you would give it.
It's audio. It's tough to
convey in audio.
Just add some like I'll add chair squeaks in the audio and kind of like a ruffling of pages like you're reading a book.
2. I'm giving it a 2.
A 2?
Yeah, 2. Coming out with the double bones.
Oh, Ryan.
Snake eyes, baby. The problem is everybody understands this is a bad movie, even the people who made it. The writer of the movie said the problem was not the acting. Problem was not the direction. Problem was not the studios. The problem was the writing.
Not enough freeze jokes. And I think that would have saved the movie
and
if they doubled the freeze jokes.
Like, I disagree with him in that I think it's inevitability. It all comes back down to the studios. It's just way overproduced. I just don't understand how... Like, this movie would have been way better if its budget was cut in half. And we were literally pointing laughing at the screen when the icicles would wiggle.
Right.
And, dude, stop and get another, like, put a piece of wire or something so they stop wiggling and just get another take. And apparently Chris O'Donnell said in the trivia, like, he said that he and Arnold Schwarzenegger share, like, a bunch of scenes, right? Like, a bunch of scenes. They're in, like, half the movie together.
Right.
They were never on set on the same day, which is absurd. They were never on screen at the same time, but he's like the superhero and the villain. The movie just doesn't work when you overproduce it like that. Like, there's so about making this a giant like set with this huge like soundstage, and I don't want Batman on a huge soundstage. I want Batman in a dark alley. There's a lot to be... I sort of disagree that, like, this movie's, like, over-criticized, because if you go on YouTube and you just type in Batman and Robin, there's, like, unironic clip shows that like, take clips of this movie, and they have, like, 8 million views, and they're like, Poison Ivy dances at the ball. And it's, like, not supposed to be a joke.
Right.
I think there's a couple great things in here, like the ice puns. A couple times, there's a pitch coming in and they hit it out of the park. When he says, the Iceman cometh, I sat up. I was like, oh, I got to write that down. That was good. Because that's a allegory for the same story. Like, that's essentially, it's the same story. It's about a man who accidentally kills his wife.
Shit.
So, like, I was like, oh, fuck. That's sick, bro.
So maybe, again, more ice puns, I think, would have pushed it over the edge.
Yeah, you got to come back around full circle.
Yeah.
But then again, like, there's things that I just hated, like, absolutely fucking hated about this movie. For instance, the 10-minute long bike race scene that had no ending. God, they just jump cut back to the mansion. And the fact that the bike gang had blown up a fuck ton of balloons and placed them throughout, like, imagine, like, we're the baddest gang on the in the biggest city on the planet, and we're gonna have this underground street race where we're gonna kill people and throw them off cliffs and stuff. Hey, did you get those balloons?
Yeah,
we said we said 20 baby blue and 55 pink.
Okay, 55 pink. Okay, I'm gonna blow them up by mouth because there's no helium in these. They're just laying on the ground.
By mouth, we spent $90,000 on this industrial balloon blower. Remember?
Oh, okay.
Everybody paid dues.
I guess I blew up like about 15 of these, so I'm just gonna place them on the track in this one spot. I guess.
No,
in a
not
line.
one spot. Did you see the prints? They were circulated last week. Did you get the Dropbox link?
I put the balloons on the ground next to the explosions. So when they run over
Jimmy, I'm sorry, Jimmy. It's just not working out. You know, we have the probationary period for a reason.
Yeah.
We invest a lot in training our new staff.
Yeah. I've been having a good time here.
Yeah, you know, it's not anything against you, like personality wise.
Okay.
In fact, you're free to come back and patronize if you can afford the entry fee. But
great, I would love to. Yeah. Okay. No.
The problem is we just have a mission statement. I bet, and this is nothing against you. I think it's probably an indictment on our part on our training. I think you probably can't like recite the mission statement right now.
I could recite it.
You know what, Jimmy? I'll eat my words. I'll eat my words. If you can recite the 4 tenets of the bike race loving gang.
The BRLG. A first rule. Always keep the balloons blown up. Keep your balloons blown up in a line.
Okay. You know what? Put a bunch of monkeys in a room. Eventually they make Shakespeare. Yeah. Keep going.
Okay.
That might be
number 2.
You can kind of deduce that by looking around.
That's on the board. It's on the board. Okay. Gimme. Okay. Make sure to always have the racetrack end with a blown up bridge so everybody flies off the end of the bridge and there's no end to the race.
Hey, good job. Okay, fair enough. Hey, maybe this is a compliment to us,
my job's
that our training program worked. Go ahead.
Number 3, make sure there's only like 4 guys in the race. So when you have like an audience of like 600 people, there's only like 4 guys to watch.
Exclusivity.
Yeah.
So Jimmy, I mean, this is the pass, but I'm going to say the tenet is exclusivity,
Exclusivity,
colon.
And
then what you said.
Make sure there's only 4 guys to watch. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
And then number 5.
I'm going to say I'm actually kind of impressed. You're bringing it around.
Okay, I hope this will save my job. Number 5, this is for the kids. So always make sure to include child gang members in the audience, swinging around chains and holding weapons.
You know, I'm man enough. Jimmy, to admit. To admit when I've been wrong.
Am I back?
We're back in business, baby. Jimmy, I love you, brother.
All right.
I love you, brother, man. Thank God, because Bernard quit today. So I need you to get in the slop.
Oh, Bernard.
I need you to get in the slop house.
The slop house?
Yeah.
We did it, guys. And Jimmy did it. He got a job back. Congratulations to Jimmy. That was our review of Batman and Robin, folks. I think we had like a kind of a defense attorney and a bad attorney. What's that called? An offense attorney? The defense and offense attorneys they have. And I think we really settled the case.
That's a good joke. I've never heard
bring that in. You can use that one.
Okay, wait, hold on. I was pre-law in undergrad for 4 years. I spent a year doing the LSAT. Went to law school for 3 years. I've been an attorney for 4 years, and I never heard that joke until now.
The offense attorney.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. So, I think the audience has a good idea of the criticisms, the successes and failures of this movie. But what do you guys at home think about it? All right, maybe watch it. Maybe throw it on the old Max and check it out and see if you would watch because they had a sequel planned for this movie. It was going to cross over in the first crossover of the DC Comics movies with a Nicolas Cage Superman. Is the world a better place without it? Who knows? I don't know, actually.
Could
I legit don't know.
The Bush Wars been avoided?
Okay, this is... Could this have moved the dial in Florida to avoid what happened in the 2000 election?
Unlike with Armageddon, this is not an open and shut case.
This is more of a stretch, but it could have been a thing that moved the dial. Who knows? We'll never know. But folks, thank you for joining us. Please join us as we continue our car season. We're going to be watching Cars eventually. Eventually we'll watch Cars and we'll finish it off. And
we will watch Cars? I think you mean we'll review Cars. I watched Cars a fucking month ago.
Ryan is going to watch Cars once a week until we finally settle on a record time. But please, fucking like and subscribe. Check out our shit. See our faces on YouTube. Tell a friend about us. Tell a friend about Batman and Robin. Maybe it's worth another look. Ryan doesn't think so. And with that, Ryan, shall we end the show?
Yeah.
It was nice to see you guys.